Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, place of Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus. We cannot be killed and we'll never lose again unless we random a character. This is looking like middle of the pack. Ooh, we can random Eden now. A question we had a little bit earlier. So this is just like another day at the office. NCX6 L7QL. Unicorn Stump. Actually one of the single most run-defining spacebar items you can get. Not necessarily best, but if you get an orbital, your odds of winning basically shoot from like, you know, maybe 80% up to like 98. So all we need is to fight an enemy, like for example, perhaps you've heard of him, Famine, or as I call him, because I'm a big fan of Japanese media, Fanime. You know what I should have said? Famine. That would have been way better. Can we? Come, please, Chad, don't be mad, okay? If we start calling Famine, I'll do it. I just don't want to see any posts that are like, this is harassment, okay? Can you meet me in the middle there? We can all have fun together. It'll be like a nice little goof. And this is how bridges are built, one brick at a time. Probably, I don't know, I'm not a civil engineer. Thank you. We needed that. We took damage in a dumb way. We got that Daria's best friend haircut going on. I'm okay with it. I would not request to be hatted, or to be beheaded. Is that a word? Behatted? Look, all I'm saying is if you can be bespectacled, you should also be able to be behatted. It only makes sense to me. I mean, glasses are more of like a mandatory thing than a hat is for me, although I do have the bald ethos going on, so kind of need a little bit of both. The glasses, you know, before I went bald, the would you rather question I got most often was definitely like, hey, if, you know, you could get LASIK, would you? And the answer I've always given is actually no. Because, like, I like wearing glasses, to be honest with you. It would be more convenient to not wear glasses. But when I don't wear glasses, I look like a fool. I have a huge head. It's enormous. And I gotta be honest, I don't think it's all brain matter. Otherwise, you know, I probably would be a little bit better at the Binding of Isaac after all this time. And let's not even mention the other games, for example. But anyway, I look like a fool, so I need the glasses. The glasses do a good job of like delineating which part of my face you should look at. Like if I'm talking, you look at the glasses, or you look just below the glasses at what's known as a mouth, and then that'll help you out a great deal. Hey! It's the rudest enemy. I haven't even brought it up yet, okay? Because I was being nice, but if you want to be a jerk, so be it. We have an awesome run hampered by just a truly terrible rate of fire. If we could get, it's not going to be an orbital, obviously, so if we could just get a fire rate up from this boss, I would be the happiest man. Because our first tears up is probably going to be worth at least 3. Don't you do it. So if we could go to like 13 or 12 rate of fire, we've got a truly impressive run. We already have the shell of a truly impressive run, but you know, an eggshell isn't an egg unless there's a yolk inside. You stay away from me. So we need that yolk. I'll also accept a speed upgrade. I will accept damage and HP, of course. Really just range and shot speed can get bent. You are a jerk. Oh well. 2 HP. Great spot for a deal with the devil. Give me a library, a book of revelations, and then access to Famine so we can finish this run off before it even gets started. So I'll be straight up with you. We took a lot of damage on that floor. But, most of it was... I don't think much of it was, like, just terribly done. Obviously, when we're about to get hit, we probably should use Unicorn Stump. Like, you don't just have to use Unicorn Stump as a way to, you know, damage enemies. But we can't shoot when we're using unicorn stump. So we have to use it in situations like this. Make sure we have a sincere exit plan. Definitely I get asked well, not all the time, not like every day, but like at least once a month or two, I get asked, you know, hey, if they invented like some way, a cheap way for you to get your hair back, would you get it? And I have to tell you, people don't believe me when I say that the answer is no. But there's a lot of perks to being bald if you got a decent head. The big one is you never have to worry about how your hair looks. And it sounds like that would not be that much of a quality of life improvement, but it is, you know? You ever see like a guy he's really into his hair, he walks inside from the wind, he's got to go in the mirror and like make sure it looks right, and he's always feeling it and going like, oh, is this in the right place? Is this in the right place? Never have to worry about that when you're bald. Plus, I have hair. It's called a hat. I think I don't know if I look better bald, but I look like me bald. I wouldn't want to change that at this point. It's like when you know, your dad, you know, he's been your dad forever, and then one year he's like, I'm gonna grow a beard. And you come home from university, and you're like, who's this bearded man who's taking the place of my father? And he's like, it's me, your dad. And I'm like, I don't think so. Dad doesn't have a beard. And he's like, no, check it out. There goes my deal with the devil chance. And you're like, oh my god, you are my father. But you changed the beard preset from none to heavy. What's up with that? I think it's a man thing. You know, like, I've never really wanted a beard. But I've been letting my facial hair grow longer in between shaves. And now I'm starting to entertain the thought of a beard. Oh, hey. Now I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll try it out. I just feel like, you know, when you're in your 40s, that's prime, or 50s even, that's prime beard territory. You're going, you know, I'm experimenting. Because you kind of, don't take this the wrong way necessarily, you kind of look like the same person, I think, between 18 and 35. Obviously, it's different for everybody. I'm not saying most 35-year-olds look 18, or most 18-year-olds look 35. You know, it's different for everybody. But I'm saying, like, you look at a picture of someone when they're 18 or 20, you look at a picture of them when they're 35, you go, I see, this is the same person. It's just an older version of the same person. Shouldn't have taken the HP yet. Our rate of fire is 72? I gotta think about this. I think I'm content. You know what? Go to the curse room now, though, because if you die, it doesn't really matter. But after 40, I think you can kind of start to experiment with, like, an old man look. You know, go look at pictures of Ernest Hemingway. Now, maybe not the bastion of health, I'll admit. Ernest Hemingway in his 20s, his 30s, his 40s, looks like a normal dude. Ernest Hemingway in his 60s, 70s, old bloated sea ship captain. I'm not saying it's a good look. I'm just saying if you're ever going to experiment, goodbye. If you're ever going to experiment, that's kind of the time, right? So, by the way, not only do we have Dark Judas for extra damage, but we picked up, well, we had a Whore of Babylon to start with, so we got even an all-stats upgrade there for a better rate of fire. So I'm pretty happy with where we're at. So I think maybe, you know, like 40, 45, 50, it's where you can start to experiment with a little bit of an old man look. You know, I can start wearing like a train conductor hat, grow a big bushy beard. Or maybe I'll turn into one of those, you know, roided up, like octogenarian gym rats, where you look at a photo of him and you're like, oh my god, how does he get so jacked in his 70s? And you're like, well, the answer is, like, I'm not saying he shouldn't do it, but it's steroids. Like, no offense, but like, you know, you ever seen Sylvester Stallone with his shirt off? That man is like 73 years old. No 73-year-old, doesn't matter how many dumbbell curls they do with 10-pound weights. They're not going to look like that. He got busted at like a Panama airport or something with a crate full of steroids. Whether or not he should be able to do it is another discussion for another day. I'm just saying, if you're wondering, like, how do they do it? I mean, this is the hormonal advantage, if you know what I mean. I don't really want to be a roided up old man. I don't know. Maybe I do. Maybe we'll see, you know? You guys think you'll go through a midlife crisis? I get, my wife brings it up to me now and then. She goes like, oh, what do you think? Like, do you think you're ever going to have a midlife crisis? And I tell her no, and she doesn't believe me. I think she thinks that it's like a constant, like a man is guaranteed to have a midlife crisis. When he turns 40, he's going to want to buy a sports car. He's going to want, you know, go out with younger women, buy a hairpiece, you know, flaunt his relative financial, social stat or financial economic status. And I want to be like, sweetheart, first off, you got nothing to worry about. I love you. We're going to be together until, statistically speaking, probably I die. She's a few years younger than me. You know, she's a woman. She's got that advantage when it comes to living a longer life. You know, I'm not saying I'd rather have it the other way. I'm just saying I'm calling it like I see it. Secondarily, you think our generation is going to reach that point in their 50s? Dude, we've been set back so much. Maybe in our 80s, millennials will be cruising around, you know, in a souped-up Mazda 6 and be like, hey, girls, check it out. I got access to petrol. And they'd be like, oh my god, on the wasteland, that's worth more than gold. Okay, maybe it won't be Mad Max in the future. I'm just saying. I don't think I'm the kind of guy who's ripe for, like, a midlife crisis. At least not the traditional midlife crisis. I have always felt like I'm older than I actually am, for the most part, even though I can be immature. That much is definitely true. I have no interest in cars. I am very, and this sounds like I'm bragging, I don't really mean it like this, but I'm very not vain. Like, in the least. And, you know, regardless of what level of success I have or don't have, like, I have no desire to flaunt it. I feel weird. Like, you know what?
Hair throw.
I told you, learned a lesson. I don't know, maybe we shouldn't. Well, wait, no, this was perfect. Our rate of fire got so much better. Like, the less money I spend, for the most part, the happier I am. We talked about it on a recent NLSS, but I was being sincere. Like, I have made big purchases for myself. I mean, we bought a new car 3 years ago. It was a reasonably priced vehicle. It wasn't like an outrageously large purchase, but it's definitely a luxury purchase that not everybody can afford. And 2 years ago, I bought a first-generation HTC Vive, and I agonized over the decision for, like, you know, a couple months. I was like, should I buy this? It's really expensive. By the way, the answer, should not have bought it. I'm not afraid to tell you I have buyer's remorse about buying VR. And it's not because the VR is necessarily bad, it's just because I don't use it. But then I got to the point where I was like, I should use this to justify the amount of money that I spent on it. But then I'm like, well, I don't want to spend my leisure time being, like, feeling guilty. Like, guilt-tripping myself into doing things. Like, I'd rather just do what I want. Play a $70 flight sim instead of, like, a, you know, $900 virtual reality machine. I guess you could use them together. Maybe that's what gets me back into it. But apart from that, I don't, like, make big purchases. Well, you know, that's not totally true. But I rarely make big purchases for myself. Let's put it that way. Yes, we travel. Of course. But, you know, when it comes to, like, possessions, I want almost nothing. Like, basically where I'm at in my life is, like, if you gave me, like, unlimited money, what would I buy? And then, like, step one, I'm like, a house. And people are like, yeah, I mean, obviously. But, like, after that, I'd be like, I don't know. Maybe, like, Canucks season tickets, but I don't know if I really want to go see 40 hockey games a year live. And then, like, if I have to start selling the tickets at that point, it's almost like a job. So, like, I don't want to do that. Like, so I'm, you know, I'm relatively low maintenance, is what I'm trying to say. Believe it or not, you may not believe it. So I don't feel like I'm in midlife crisis zone. I don't know, like I kind of thought the idea was that when you were like 25, you look at the 50-year-olds in their sports cars and you go, oh, I'm jealous, I can't wait till I get there. And then you turn 50 and you're like, I would like one used Corvette, please. And then the dealership is like, 50th birthday, huh? And you go, hell yeah, brother. And then you become the thing that you were envious of when you were younger. But when I see people, I mean, maybe, again, it's because of the relative affluence of this city, but when I see people driving, like, a $100,000 car, I'm like, you're insane. Unless you're, like, a literal, like, you have more than a $10 million net worth, why are you driving a $100,000 vehicle? Are you crazy? You're driving around something that, like, if you crash it, it'll cost you more to fix it than my entire car cost. I'm not shaming you for buying if you're, and I'm being sincere, if you love cars, if you're really into cars, and you have the disposable income to buy a sports car, that's fine. Absolutely. But most of the time, if you're mad that I'm not jealous of your Maserati, I'm sorry to tell you that that's just, like, my honest opinion. It's like, if you gave me the option to trade in my Ford Focus straight up for, like, a Ferrari F40, would I do it? Yeah, I'm not an idiot. But if you were like, hey, I'll tell you what, we'll knock 50% off the price of this Ferrari if you want to drive out of here today, I would be like, are you insane? That's still, I don't want to drive something that costs $125,000. That sounds nerve-wracking. Our car has no scratches on it, except, I swear to you, it wasn't our fault. Within the first month we bought it, we went to Seattle, put it in a real tight parking garage, left 2 days later. We were there for PAX, 2 or 3 days later. And there was a little bit of red paint on the driver's side door handle. Somebody had opened their door into ours. And it's still there to this day, but it's very minor. That's the only scratch. Apart from that, this car has not touched another foreign object in motion. But still, I'd be freaking. How did we get a not all stats up or down with Libra? I don't know. I don't think I could handle it. I think I would be too stressed out to drive. Now, once I got over it, I would probably be like, this is really fun to drive. Like, I can take pleasure from driving in some circumstances. It's kind of the same thing with, like, houses, you know? I have no desire to live in, like, a southern-styled 40-room mansion. Like, I don't care if my house has a swimming pool inside of it, or a big movie theater or something like that. You know, I play games. I'm playing Isaac right now. The window is not even 720p. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm playing at 640 by 380. Which is probably why it looks so garbage for you guys. But I don't need a movie theater, okay? What do I want? Well, I want, like... Here's the thing. I want a number of bathrooms equal to the number of people in the house. I would accept one less bathroom than the number of people. I mean... This is the way my wife and I have been living ever since we lived together. One bathroom for 2 people is fine. But there are the occasional times I want to use the bathroom. Like, it's an NLSS 3-minute ad break, for example. I gotta pee. I go to the bathroom. The door's closed. What can I do? I hold it for the next hour. I come out an hour later and I use the bathroom because there's just no time to, you know, mess around with the semantics. So, having one more bathroom than the number of people in the house. Or, sorry, the equivalent. Now, occasionally, you will meet somebody, and they'll be like, my house has 3 bathrooms. And you're like, but there's only 2 of you. That is one that actually doesn't make sense to me. The only thing I can think of is you have frequent guests, but simultaneously, if you have guests over, not everybody is going to go to the bathroom at the same time. That would be very weird. If, let me put it this way, if I was the third wheel and I went over to a husband and wife's establishment and the wife was like, I'm gonna go use the bathroom, and the husband was like, you know what, me too, I'd be like, bro, why are you being weird? Just wait till I leave. You don't have to do it right now. It makes it seem like I'm part of the doing it thing, and that's not something I signed up for. Like, I didn't sign up to be the dude who's like, the vessel for like, oh, he doesn't even know what we're doing right now. You know, I don't want to be that guy. I just wanted to come over and play some Boggle. And now you guys have made it like this weird exhibitionist thing that I don't want any part of. You go one at a time. Even if you gotta go. At a restaurant, it's different. You can all go at the same time. But not at a restaurant, It's not about that lifestyle. Chariot. Please. We may not make boss rush, which is kind of remarkable. I'm starting to think Libra... I still think is the right choice. I might be using it suboptimally. I don't know. But yeah, I don't want to have a 70-room house. You ever see the movie? It's a documentary. It's called The Queen of Versailles. It's about, this is not meant to look down on her at all, but it's about a trophy wife, more or less. And I'm not saying she didn't marry her husband for love, but he's like a 60-year-old, like, executive at some kind of pharmaceutical company or something, and then she's like 20 years younger than him. She's been through a lot of plastic surgery. She clearly cares about her image a lot. But the movie paints her in a very, I would say, endearing light, because it takes place at the 2008 financial crash, and the dude basically just goes bankrupt. And it's about her like trying to hold the household together. It's this extravagant like 90-room house that is so much more stuff than anybody would ever need. It's a really good documentary. I have 100% zero desire to ever live in that existence in my entire life. It's terrifying to me. Like, I never want to live in a house with so many... And this is like, oh, poor me. I never want to live in a big house. But I never want to live in a house that's like... I had a friend in university. I went over to his house once. And I was like, I'm going to use the bathroom. And he's like, oh, don't use the one down here. Use the one upstairs. The bathroom down here has been broken for like 5 years. His family was affluent. Like, the thing is just like the bathroom broke and they were like, the toilet broke, I should say. And they were like, we don't really need to replace it because there's 3 people living here and we got 5 other toilets. I never want to live in a house where a toilet goes down. And I go, you know what? No big deal. Now, I never want to live in a house where if a toilet goes down, we gotta go poop at the gym, brother. But maybe, like, we have a backup toilet, but let's get on the horn with the plumber immediately and get that fixed as soon as possible. It's really like that's my ideal setup, okay? I was gonna say there should be a modest all stats increase. I really thought I'd moved enough. Either way, deal with the devil's sack dagger. It's not sack dagger. I refuse to give up on the unicorn stump, dude. It's worth too much. We've come too far together. No, you're gonna make things slightly more difficult for me. We should have just roasted them with the sun card. Oh, you fool! Here's the thing. If I use the sun card here, on this room, we cannot... Oh, that's probably chaos, too. We cannot lose our bone heart. So I will probably take it, even though I'm relatively confident I could also walk out of these spikes without getting hit. That's a lot of cards. I got a game plan, though. Please, are you... You're a jerk, is what you are. That's right, I called you a jerk.
Range the sun.
Emperor. Huge growth. Huge growth is okay.
2 of spades.
But I think I'd rather just use the Emperor. Huge growth is probably way better than okay because of the fact that we have Libra. But is it as good as it feels to skip like 11 rooms? I find it highly unlikely. Yo, okay, so a tiers upgrade. Again, an all stats but tiers upgrade. And we got the dream, baby. Look at that. Sack dagger. Life is but a freaking dream. Anyway, that's why I like... You know, I started playing these flight simulators. And I bought a joystick. There were $300 joysticks. I can't bring myself to spend that kind of money on something used to play X-Plane. Like, I'm gonna have to go to like a support group and they'll be like, what are you here for? And one dude's like, you know, stole money out of my mom's purse to buy drugs. And then like another person's like, that's nothing. I maxed out my credit card buying online packs of Magic the Gathering. And I'll be like, that's nothing. I flew 4 flights in X-Plane and spent $300 on rudder pedals. And people are going to be like, dude, are you sure you should be here? Like, there's a hospital down the street that might be more your speed. Just looking out for you, buddy. Ha ha ha, addiction. Look, it's not like that. I'm just making a joke. Oh, no. Anyway, flight sims are fun. That's not what I'm here to talk about, though. You know what game I'm enjoying a lot more than I thought I would have? Resident Evil 7. I hate to admit it. Austin was right. You know, he was like, you're going to have fun playing this game. And I was like, I don't know if I'd have fun playing it. I've never played a game like it before. And he's like, that's all the more reason to play it. And I was like, you think you know me? You don't know anything. And then I played it, and I was like, you know what? He knows me better than I know myself. What a smart man. Hey, stay away, please. Whoop. Absolutely, there's no hush required on this one. Phil Collins. It's good because here's the thing. I think I'm starting to come in line with the conventional wisdom on Resident Evil 7. The first hour of that game is effectively terrifying. They do a great job of being like, hey, you're alone and scared in this house, and things are freaking you out. And then after that, it becomes much, much, much more of an action game, which I understand. A lot of the things I've brought up as criticisms against Resident Evil, people have been like, that's what every Resident Evil is like. That's why people love the franchise. So I'm not saying it shouldn't be like that. But after the gut punch of the first hour or so, the game gets a little bit more pa-dum pa 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 pa. That's a gun. Shooting, you know, zombies in the head. And then I was like, oh, this isn't nearly as fun as it was. But once I settled into that and they start playing around with the combat, it's really like, it's a fun action haunted house. It's like, yes, hello, my son. Oh, is there a Ruka here? Hello, buddy. What is it? Hello. This cat, he keeps putting me in a weird position. What I was gonna say is that it's like a haunted house, but with a light gun. But it's good, unlike the ones you'd get at, like, you know, the San Francisco Pier. When I say this cat's putting me in a weird position, what I mean is that he sleeps. If I don't pet him, I feel like I'm depriving my son of pets. If I pet him, he wakes up and goes freaking berserk. He never stops meowing after receiving that first pet. So you really, Ruka, did you just lick the monitor? What is wrong with you? You're being a little overexcited lately, my son. Oh, he's going to sleep. Never mind. Go to sleep and good night. Sleeping on my checkbook. Thanks for reminding me. Need to order more of those. Because I'm 95 years old, I still use checks. Don't do it. Lucky us. Not for normal things, okay? But like, here's the deal. When the government is like, pay me this much money, they really pay us this much money once every 3 months, I say, okay, but I'm gonna make it as inconvenient as possible by sending you a piece of paper in the mail you have to go to a bank to deposit. It is I'm happy to do my civic duty, but I think people assume that, like, oh, I don't know about this. You know, when they're like, whoa, dude, it's a privilege to pay your taxes. When I reach the age at which I'm paying my taxes and not receiving checks all the time instead, I'm gonna do it with a smile on my face, knowing that money goes to someplace good. Dude, I feel you. I really actually do. Simultaneously, though, you are a fool. When you get those assessments and you're like, you should pay us this much money. For someone who doesn't like to spend money, I'm like, for what? I know, for roads and healthcare and yes, and the infrastructures and the, oh, that's right, the clean water, I've forgotten, and, you know, the sense of helping those in need, absolutely. But I'm saying, you know, it inconveniences me. I'm just gonna throw a little inconvenience their way as well. Plus, I kind of feel, when somebody sends you a letter, you should send them a letter in return. I've always been told that it was polite. So you send me a letter, it's like, hey, give me this much money. And I'm like, here you go. Here's a piece of paper that says, if you bring this to the bank, I owe you 1 money. Did you know, so again, I was talking about it on the NLSS. We're getting kind of close to the end of the episode here, but I always thought that when Wesley Snipes went to jail for tax evasion, it was because he just made an honest mistake. I didn't realize until I read more about it that he literally did the defense where it was like, well, I never consented to paying taxes, and I thought this was a free country, so is it truly free, or do I owe you money? And they were like, please go to jail, sir. Well, more likely, they were probably like, please pay us the money you owe us, and he was like, no, and then they're like, okay, now you're going to jail. But anyway, I didn't realize that apparently, and this is probably true in many countries, but there's like, the IRS has a list of problematic taxpayers. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but hear me out. Apparently, like a few times a year, people will mail their taxes, or like some document that's required to complete their taxes, to the IRS. Only get this, they'll also include in the package, or the letter, a knife or a gun. Basically is like, hey, you know, here's your money, and if you ever send me a message again, I'm threatening bodily harm, without doing so much as threatening bodily harm. In what Dr. Seuss universe does that accomplish the goal that you think it's going to accomplish? That you're like, well, honey, I got the greatest idea you could ever imagine. I'm going to send the money to the IRS, but I'm also going to send them a knife. And they'll probably never bother us again, and there will never be repercussions for our actions. I believe, you know, we're kind of barking up the wrong tree, because if you're doing something like that, you're probably not of sound mind. But still, it's just like the audacity to try to threaten the American government. You know, the people who drop hellfire missiles and be like, hey, here's a knife. I don't want to pay tax anymore. I gotta, you know, let me know how that works out for you. I also want to see the list so I know where to never visit in my life. I'm going to look at the list. It's going to be all Vancouver, BC. Possibly. Hey, you're still alive. I thought you were a race car driver and ergo a friend of mine. Well, it's been a little bit of a, you know, not so fantastic finish to this run, but mostly because I'm stupid. I also feel, well, I'm playing stupidly. Let's not be too negative here. But I also feel like maybe Libra wasn't 100% the right decision. And then taking Fire Mines, not my finest moment either, potentially. Either way, look at that, invincibility from Empty Vessel. All of a sudden, I'm a very happy man. Good win. All right, we're up to 5 wins. We got an Eden 1. That is not a Delirium run. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.